Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and welcome to Connor's 2-month update. Can you believe our sweet little Connor is already 2 months old? I can't believe it. In this video it will be a little clip of Connor because I don't have him here with me in my arms today because he's downstairs sleeping and you never wake a sleeping baby. So he's down there sleeping, so you'll have to just wait to the end of this video to see a little clip of Connor. So this month has been pretty big with some milestones in development. So little Connor weighs 12 pounds even and he's 23 1/4 inches long. He is already in 0 to 3 month clothes, which he pretty much was at his 1 month mark, but now he's fitting in it perfectly. And it's kind of sad to see all his newborn clothes go and his newborn diapers, and he's been in size 1 diapers for about 5 weeks now. He turned 2 months old actually 2 days ago, but I couldn't film his update until now, or take his 2-month picture until a few days earlier than that, because little Connor was in the hospital for his scheduled tenotomy surgery for his little club feet. So I didn't think he'd be up for videos and picture debuts that soon after surgery. So did his picture beforehand and now this video update now. So I'm just letting sweet little Connor sleep downstairs. And we've got his video monitor here, so I see him and he's sleeping just fine. And he's doing great. So little Connor has had some milestones this month in the sense of he's rolled over twice. He did that around 7 weeks old, and we've not seen it, but we found him face down a few times, which is scary because babies aren't supposed to roll over until they have adequate head strength and arm strength, so when they do roll over they can push themselves to breathe, and he cannot do that because he's so little. So we're a little bit scared of that, so we don't like to leave him alone when he's sleeping. I've got the baby monitor, but yeah, so we've not seen it happen yet, but we know it has to be happening because how is he starting on his back with nothing around him, safe sleeping, and then he's just on his stomach. So it's very scary, so he has to be rolling because how can he go from his back to stomach? And what we've seen though is him arching his back really strong, and his cast kind of gets stuck up underneath him. And since they're so rigid and hard, whenever he goes back to like flat normal, it pushes his little body over and he just kind of rolls the rest of the way. So we haven't seen that full progress, but whenever we change his diaper, we see him arch his back really hard, which turns him onto his side because he can't get his feet back out from underneath him when they're arched, and it's kind of propping him and propelling him over, and then he just is stuck on his side until we put him back over. So that's probably what's happening, and we asked the doctor that's with club feet, and he's not seen any cases like that yet, and he's done so many thousands of babies like this, so it's very concerning, or Connor's just really strong. I don't know. So we're going to have to figure out some way to figure out what to do about that, because he's already rolling. And not really necessarily on his own, but he's rolling over. I've seen that at least twice. Yeah, so that's a big milestone. He's also using his hands more. He obviously doesn't know they're his hands, but he's grabbing at things. Like when he was in the hospital, he had his IV in his head, and he was just grabbing at his IV, trying to get it off his head. And so before, he couldn't even have his hands do what he wanted. And now he still doesn't know what they are and what's going on, but he can subconsciously use them to grab for things or reach for things or kind of, chunkily use them in a way. And he kind of likes to hold his own hands. And so his preferences are more known. He's using his hands more. He definitely, if he doesn't want his passy anymore and you're trying to put it in his mouth because he's screaming, he moves his head like this away. He's like, I don't want it. So it's like, wow, he's got like a mind for himself. Like he's not just sitting there. Like he's actually like, okay, I do want this, I don't want that. And it's just really neat to see that his little personality's starting to come out. His eyes are more alert and awake, so they're wider, they're looking around. He loves to explore his surroundings, he loves to go outside and hear nature, so he's definitely exploring his world now, instead of just sleeping and eating and surviving and pooping. Speaking of pooping, he went on a 11.5-day poop strike for us, which apparently with exclusively breastfed babies, that can be very normal up to 2 weeks. I don't think that is, but my pediatrician thinks it is, and the internet does, so I guess it's true. But it scared us because he was pooping like 12 times a day and then went about 12 days without pooping. So it's like, okay, it was just cold turkey stop. He was just on a poop strike. Didn't quite know what to do with that. So Eventually, after surgery, he just started pooping again, so he knows who his sister Lucy is, and Lucy's getting more adapted to him, so she knows not to be as rowdy, and he knows when she's around to pull his little hands in and hide them, because she likes to lick them, and it drives him crazy, and then when she gets near his face, he goes, because she always licks his little mouth and his cheeks, and he's like, ah. He knows before it even happens, so he's learning. You can tell he's learning. We're still reading to him all the time. He loves his little books, especially the book I read to him in the womb. Connor is sleeping longer stretches. That's when the poop strike started. He was going 7 hours sleeping sleeping and going without eating. And so it was 7 hours at night sleeping, which was great for a little while, and then 7 hours without eating in the daytime, so it was just kind of like his cycles, and it went from like 1 to 2 hours of eating to that, so my milk supply tanked for a little while, and that scared me, but I've got it back up. We just had to keep refeeding like every hour or two, just little feeds to kind of trick my brain into thinking like, okay, we need to get back to feeding. So now he's leveled back off to about 4-hour stretches between feeding and his sleeping stretches, and his awake time stretches are longer in the day, so he takes less naps and he takes longer stretches awake and just exploring, and he kind of does like we call it swimming. He kind of does this with his arms and this, and he's just kind of playing. He plays all night. He plays during the day, and it kind of keeps him entertained, and he's just swimming. That's what we like to call it. Quick clubfoot update. I'll show you his picture in a minute of his 2-month photo. That's pretty much all from little Connor. He's cooing and making more noises and smiling a lot more. That is a big step for this month. Very exciting. But yeah, so clubfoot update. So we're in phase 2 of 3. So phase 1 was this, whole last month and a half. He had about 5 to 6. He had 5 weeks of cast. So his left leg had 3 weeks and his right leg had 2, but together they had 2 weeks together casted, but 5 weeks total left and right. So 5 weeks of casting, which corrected his little club foot. So it went from completely like this to like this. So he is fully functional, fully fixed. His foot looks better than ever, and it pretty much fixed at like week 1 or 2 mark. So it's done. So now it's just cutting that left Achilles tendon, which we did at his surgery on Tuesday, to grow back correctly and in the right alignment, because that was what was wrong in the womb. His Achilles tendon was way too tight, making his foot turn in and grow like this, which doesn't hurt him, but he would never be able to walk, never be able to wear shoes, play sports, do anything. Like literally, you can't walk on the side of your foot. It's not like he can stretch it out. His bones are like that. So they do, through agony each week would stretch his poor little foot out. And so on Tuesday, it was not supposed to be a hospital stay. It was not supposed to be put under anesthesia. It was not supposed to be an overnight stay. But they lost the knife that he needed for his surgery, which honestly sounds ridiculous in my opinion. Very unprofessional, very ridiculous. They don't have the knife. They could not do his surgery or his procedure in office. So we have to pay now for the hospital stay. It was now an overnight surgery. He had to be put to sleep, and all because of that knife. So that he's a bigger knife in the OR, and he's just too small to handle that in office. It's ridiculous. So Tuesday night, or Monday night going into the surgery, they cancel our surgery last minute. We don't know, and we had to take his cast off 2 days before to allow swelling to go down. And we panic and absolutely lose our mind. And they call back and say, well, would you like us to schedule you back in? It's like, when was our surgery ever canceled? Who canceled our surgery? No one told us. Whatever, long story short, they added us back in. We had a 6 a.m. surgery Tuesday morning, and it worked out. But it was a very rough night, and he had to fast from 3 a.m. until about 2 p.m., like after surgery and after he woke up, because he was going to be put to sleep. And so that was about 12 hours of me not feeding, and him 12 hours not eating. So he was hangry, and I was very engorged. So, and I luckily have not experienced a drop in my milk supply, so that's a blessing. Yeah, so he went in, he had a surgery. That's part of phase 2 is his surgery to cut the Achilles, and it'll just grow back straight. He did really well in the surgery with his tendon. Body did not react well to the anesthesia, and it took them forever to wake him up. And he started having breathing difficulties. and he wasn't breathing really on his own. So that was very scary. So he was in the OR with them just watching him for hours. And then once he went into recovery, he was unconsolable and just distraught for 3 hours, literally. Just the kind of screaming where you can't breathe. Like, it's just like, you know, and you're just screaming. His face was beet red. Nothing worked. I couldn't feed him. I couldn't hold, like, nothing worked. He had wires all over, had an IV in his head. They tried to do it in his foot, but obviously he was having surgery in his foot, so they had to move it on his foot. And he's, you know, double casted afterwards again. And so we just had to stay the night, ended up being okay. He was a champ after that, once he got calmed down after the, you know, I guess 6-hour mark after surgery. Just such a good little guy. The night we were discharged early the next morning and went on with our life, and he's been pretty good since. A little fussy yesterday, the day after surgery. He's just kind of uncomfortable. And so he's in double cast again, and he'll have this same pair of cast on for 4 weeks, which is basically just holding his foot in place. Like I said, it's already corrected. It's just holding that foot in place to allow that Achilles tendon to heal and to regrow back, because the Achilles regrow, one of the only tendons that do. And his right leg, they're just holding it in place, because if they don't, it will move back to where it was too. So it's just holding them in place and healing the Achilles. And then at the 4-week mark, we come in, they do a molding of his foot, and make the braces, the boot and bar braces. I think it's like Dobbs boot and bar specifically, if you want to look that up if you're curious. And so he'll wear that, you know, for a good while after that mark. And so it takes him 2 weeks to make it. So after they mold his foot, he'll be in another set of cast for 2 weeks until just when we get the brace back, because we, like I said, don't want it going back, his little foot. And phase 3 is he'll be in the boots and bar brace for 3 months straight of 24/7 use. I think you can take them off for him to get a bath, but that's it. And then after that, it'll be every night until he's 6 years old. And basically the boots and bar is just making sure his foot does not go back the way it was, because when it's formed in the womb like this, your body wants to go back to that. Even with all the circumstances, his bones have already been refixed, his tendons fixed, like, it still has the tendency to go back, very high tendency. So that's just what phase 3 is, just keeping it correct. Phase 1's correcting, phase 2 is kind of tweaking the tendon, phase 3 is keeping it correct. And let me tell you, he's just the happiest little baby. He has a perfect demeanor, he takes after my husband, and you know, Connor, I know he doesn't know any different, I know he doesn't know any better or worse, but he chooses when he's in pain to, instead of sit there and complain or cry and scream constantly, which I know he's in pain. I hear his little screams and cries and just shrill, like, you know when your child's in pain. It's a very different cry. And I hear that, and he'll stop whenever I start talking to him or singing to him, and I can tell he chooses to ignore his circumstance and ignore the pain to allow me to comfort him and console him. And that's incredible. Like, that I can see is his personality shining through. And I know it's crazy because he's just a baby. He's only 9 weeks old today as I'm filming this, but I'm serious. Like, you can tell he just pushes past all the discomfort and just accepts it and makes, like, the best of the situation. He'll distract himself. He'll look at different things. And, you know, he only cries for a short period of time until I pick him up and just rock him and hold him and talk to him or feed him. And then he goes to sleep, and then he's happy. And you know, he always chooses to smile. He smiles so much, and for a baby who's in such pain, and you know, he is so happy and so smiley, and you know, engages in normal activities. He still does tummy time. He still does, you know, back time where we put him on the little mat and he plays with the mobile above him. Like, you know, he still reaches all his milestones. He still has to participate in all his developmental things, like, you know, do tummy time, and we have to keep pushing him, and he just doesn't mind. He just sits there and does it, because that's what he just is supposed to, and he knows he just will do it. And I'm very grateful for that. He has such a sweet disposition and always kind of seems to see the positive out of things, like my husband, and I'm more realistic and complaining. So I would have the same attitude if I were him, but I would definitely be crying constantly, or, you know, just being like, this is awful, this is it, just dwelling on it, where my husband just pushes forward and is very happy and always sees the good of things, and I'm just very realistic. So that's his little update. Let me show you his picture, and here's the clip of little Connor here with his cast. He's just a trooper. We didn't get to choose the color this time, but we will next time. But let me show you the picture really quick. Our little buddy. Look how cute. And there's his 1 month. I don't know if I showed that last time. So precious. He's definitely growing. He's maturing in the face. He's starting to see, you see who he is now. He's taking after me a little bit more, just saying. My husband, he always looks like him, but he's looking a little more like me. All right, here's his clip. Bye. Here's Connor James, 2 months old. That big little boy. And here's his little cast. He just had his tendon surgery on his left little tendon, Achilles. And they cut it. And they cast him up for another 4 weeks in the same set of cast. And then they do the molding for his braces, send that in, get it made. And 2 weeks later when it comes in, he'll have another set of this cast. And then he takes it off and wears the braces. He'll wear those braces for 3 months straight, not taking them off once, but maybe for a bath. And then it's just at night till he's 6, maybe 5, who knows. Say hi, buddy. Is that a camera? What do you think of it? Are you just such a happy baby? We love you. We love, look at you. Look at you go. Are you scaring Mama? Am I scaring you? This is my camera. We're going to have lots of adventures together. And hopefully I can catch some of them. I know. I know.